17.
Did you ever imagine you would do 17 of these?
Do a lot more.
That might have been a cheat though, because I think we did 3 on the first. We divided the first one into 3.
Yeah, it's not going to be 17 weeks consecutive, or 13 to 14 weeks consecutive. It's still impressive.
So I had this download on all the list, and I did a video and I uploaded it to the channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went off the beaten path. I didn't ask his permission. I just fucking did it. Look at the look on his face. He's not too sure about this.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. So.
Yeah. It's got 13 views, 17, something like that. People checking it out. No comments though. Yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
You know, I didn't realize I had this idea that I wanted to do this video and talk about it on the whiteboard. And then I got this idea, well, I have a perfect place to put that here on this channel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because some of the things I talk about, you know, like this is a weird audience. So I have a weird side of me, and this is definitely the place to talk weird stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. I want to put, so it's fine to have this as part of this, but I read a lot of self-help books. I'm usually always reading one or various ones. And I recently read Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever read that?
Yeah, many times.
I mean, he's
probably way the fuck ahead of
the dude.
Yeah.
Is on point. And then I go back and reading Outwitting the Devil, his new old book, so the one that he wrote right before or right after Think and Grow Rich, but it was never published. And
yeah, Jenny read that and said it was like for our time.
Yes.
Like it was so ahead of it. So
with this channel, the seeker part of it, you know, I want to be able to put other resources or reviews or information that I feel connect with this. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So like Think and Grow Rich, I could do a whole fucking book review breakdown thing. I could do. Anyway, there's a bunch of content and other things that I could do to put on this channel that wouldn't necessarily be this specific project, but would still be within the same lane.
Yeah.
So I intend to do some version of that or pursue something in there.
Yeah, I can see you and I
parallel
enjoying that. Yeah, doing that at times.
Yeah.
Like Jenny has been reading a Deepak Chopra book. I don't know. And in it, it's very much he talks about shit here, and I think I've mentioned it before, right? And one of the things he says is you really just don't know anything is true because everything's in this little limestone cavern of your head. And she's really jumped on that, and that's really had relevance for her. She's all like I just don't know you're real, Jason. I love you, but it's all in my head. It's all in my little limestone cavern. And so she says that a lot. So those are things that, you know, are relevant to bring up the discussion for people who are, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get enlightened, you probably just need to read Jed and go at it, my friend. But if you're trying to become a human adult, then join us.
There's a lot of resources
for
that. And I feel
you know what? And this goes to what we just read. Like, remember, it was you and Jenny talking about it.
That you're gonna. Why would you have a craving for knowledge and information?
Dude, I'm having a weird thing. I was on a sand dune listening to the podcast, walking down it with the wind blowing behind me right when you guys were talking about it. My body has just gone back to when you two were talking about that.
I love that.
Because you guys were talking about the concept that he said that you'll need a library. I'm like, why the fuck would you need a library?
Yeah.
And then you guys started to piece together why you might.
Yeah. Well, basically, I started going into that like, fuck him, and everything's wrong. And then as it broke down, we were like, maybe he kind of knew what he was fucking doing when we put it all together. And there's more. I know Jed's watching, but I really hate to inflate his ego any more than it's already inflated and tell him that he knew what he was doing. Yeah. I think he did though.
I know, it's a joke. Inflate his ego. Yeah. Okay, that went right over here.
I heard you.
Okay. Hey, why are we wearing warrior shirts? There's an ulterior motive.
Is there?
We're gonna root for the Golden State Warriors tonight.
That's fun.
In the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Kill the Buddha. which at the end of the last episode, you haven't watched it, go watch it. We really put together how cool this was, because the first chapter was what? Heartless. And then there were these just weird, both in and out of the game, and why chatter and delusion about the line.
Right,
Who gets a
it
fuck?
was understanding that within the pattern of the chapters, it was significant. Even though in a moment you're like, what is this? It's like, no, look at what you just consumed.
Yeah.
Which we get by this slow consumption.
It took us a moment. We're slow. We're slow. We're not so quick. Kill the Buddha. Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought. Basho. I don't know who Basho is. I started to look up all these guys, and a lot of them are like these old Hindu guys that they got quotes from. The quote machine on his books is like someone put some fucking work into it.
The quote machine? You just mean like the...
Yeah, the quotes in the front of every chapter throughout all of his works.
He put work into it. It was him, I'm sure. It's part of the chapter. You don't
I don't think there's an editor doing some of that work. If you go to the website right now, have you gone to the Wisefool website? They have a quote section.
Oh, really?
Huge quote section. They say these are some of the quotes that we built up in the years of doing his books to help. Yeah, you should go look at it.
Fuck, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, they're great. Some of them you'll recognize, but some are just new. So, they spent a lot of time building them.
Let's go through that.
If the website's live, as of 5/30/2019. Hey, we should be having Jed Talks 3 soon, right?
Hopefully.
Dude, I just read the end of Jed Talks 2 with Jenny. The fucking Joe versus the volcano piece. It floored us. It's so fucking good. It's all there in the Joe versus the volcano piece.
Yeah, I'm going to not read either the Jed Talks book again until the third one comes out, and then just go 1, 2, 3.
Okay. It's raining. Thunder and lightning are slashing and crashing through the sky. Thoreau called himself the self-appointed inspector of snowstorms and rainstorms, and if he meant that he was so enthralled by them that he felt compelled to observe them, even if it meant getting out of a warm bed to do so, then I know what he meant, and I, too, am a self-appointed inspector of snowstorms and rainstorms. So, you know how you kind of like idolize your guru for a little while? When I read this 10 years ago, I decided that I, too, would become a self-appointed inspector of storms.
Yeah,
particularly
that line, just this opening to this chapter, like that, that whole thing has stuck with me for years.
Very much stuck with me.
That detail specifically.
Here's the problem. I'm no good at it. I've tried. I failed, Jed. I watch, get bored, wander off. And I like storms. Like, I love a storm. I love the energy of it, the feel of it. But the ability to sit and revel in it past the 10 to 20 minute mark is more than my wee little brain can handle.
I'd have to be doing something else in it, like reading.
Yeah. But just sitting there, like I'll do it. I'll see lightning. I'll go sit out on the porch. I'm going to sit here for hours and just behold. And like 10 minutes later, I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
Hello, Jenny. She just came home from work. So why did that impact you? I don't know, because it impacted me too.
I think that, there's like a big depthful answer, and then there's a simple answer. The simple answer is just that it helps me pay more attention. Like just reading that, I was like, oh yeah, storms are kind of cool, and I should pay more attention to them. So there's that level. Then also there's, I guess there's just a lot more details around it. Like the idea of paying attention and appreciating your environment, like appreciating the idea that you get to, you can get fucking metaphysical with it. But in general, I've just liked it because we live in a place where there's a lot of storms.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of storms. And I've noticed it. And so I notice them. And every time I notice them, I think of this, and it's like a habitual momentum.
And I benefit from nature. I just have figured out how I do it. I need to be moving.
Yeah.
And I'm about an hour's top, like you guys. Let's go hike for 3 days. That shit don't work for me.
You're crazy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I want to go for an hour hike and then come home. That's what works for me.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't go camping? I guess, Jesus Christ, you haven't gone camping.
I've gone camping, yeah. But I have to take a gun and friends and beer and...
Yeah.
You know, like we have
You're saying
you have a
people-
father. What was it? Uncle-in-law, uncle, step-uncle, Josh.
Step uncle?
Is that what he is? Anyways, he's taking the kids. Jenny's brother taking the kids fishing, and he loves, like, his thing is to go out, pop a line in, 8 hours later, get off the lake. He's more, solitary in that. It's a very solitary thing. Like, and her father's that way.
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you and I could go hiking all day and camping for a week, as long as we had guns and fireworks and food to cook,
Yeah, the story.
music, Okay. It's early morning. The sun just recently up, and the storm has pulled me from sleep. I am wrapped in a blanket and tucked cozily into a chair on the west-facing second floor porch just off my bedroom. Most of our weather comes in from the west. I always have the feeling that storms are spectacles for my personal entertainment, and I feel a pang of guilt if I don't pay attention to them. It's no hardship to pay attention to them, though, since they provide such pleasure. I think of storms as boisterous sound and light shows put on by the universe for those who have the sense to appreciate the majesty and grandeur of them. Nothing to do with enlightenment, just something I like. And I think that's why I got into that right there, Asher, because I thought, I want to be like that. I want to appreciate nature like that.
Yeah, he described what I was trying to get out of my mouth way better. Yeah.
Andrew is the only guest who ever sat out here on the second floor porch with me. They usually don't come near the master suite at all unless it's for their chores, and usually when I'm somewhere else. It's embarrassing, really. After all, there's no earthly reason why I shouldn't make my own bed. I don't know whatever happened to my life that I have people doing all my stuff for me. Actually, I do bully my way into the kitchen after dinner once in a while, order everyone out, and clean the dinner mess by myself. I don't do it to be a good guy or to make a point. I do it because I enjoy it. I like washing dishes and cleaning the kitchen. Go figure. I found Jenny and I talked about that. There's times when we really just enjoy that. There's things we enjoy doing, and some of it looks suspiciously like work.
Yeah. That's funny.
Like I mowed the lawn today, and there's a point. I don't want to have to mow the lawn or do the dishes all the time, but I do like doing them sometimes.
Yes.
It's that burden part when you have to do it. I invited Andrew up one day last summer during an afternoon storm. I liked Andrew personally. He was in his mid-30s, slim, soft-spoken, and had been a Buddhist for most of his adult life. As I recall, he was a practitioner of Vipassana meditation, which may have explained his air of quiet self-composure. I wanted someone to watch the storm with, and Andrew seemed a good choice, meaning that he seemed likely to sit quietly and appreciate the storm, which he did. When it was mostly over, we poured tea, discussed his relationship with Buddhism. I was interested to hear his views and experiences. I've never really understood Buddhism conceptually. I understand Zen perfectly, at least my own highly distilled version of it. But strange as it may sound, I've never really made the connection between Zen and Buddhism. For one thing, I never figured out how desire got to be the bad guy and compassion became the good guy. I was just reading something and a Buddhist teacher made a comment on something I said, and I was told snottily, I've meditated for 17 years. Trust me, desire's the bad guy.
To you?
Yeah, from this lady on Facebook. Trust me. I know desire's the bad guy. I was like, oh.
And
I shut my mouth.
well, this is why this book is not for everybody, because there's some people who would read that. That lady, if she got to that line in that book, right, in this book, that would be done for her.
Yeah.
She'd be done reading. Fuck this shit. That's not true. I know better. I've been doing it for 17 years. I know better. That's why this book is hard for people. We're I think, just weirdos that were just like,
well, and we weren't.
This is great.
And here's the thing, though. We weren't indoctrinated with 17 years of our desires are bad.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't have to deal with the baggage that she has, right?
That's true.
And we do have some, not you as much, but so I don't know if anyone knows this, but I teach sexual intimacy. And I was a Mormon for a while. And so in that religion, sexual desire is very muted. Yeah. That is not a good thing. Other desires are okay, and it's okay within marriage. So they're not completely shutting it down, not making it totally the bad guy, but it's got to be for having babies.
Yeah, well, put it this way. If you were a practicing Mormon and you wanted to start doing those workshops, the two things wouldn't mesh properly, right? People would get pissed. If somebody would say something to you like, "Hey, I don't think that goes with our principles," or
I think it would appear that way on the surface because of that belief about desire.
Yeah.
But actually, any Mormon could come to my workshop and still leave. Yeah, there's no sex, there's no nudity, no touching. You've been in them, right? And you could feel good about it because it's about monogamy. It's about staying with your partner. It's just about taking that sexual desire you have, expanding the possibilities hugely. And I'm going to let him speak this in a second because he's going to say it better than I because he's from the outside. I'm too deep in it. And finding depth and spirituality in it. So it's a very tantric, Taoist kind of thing. So from your position, try to salvage what I probably just butchered.
it's just that it doesn't have anything to do with religion, so anybody could go to it because everything in the workshops builds off of baseline what our baseline human parts interacting in certain ways that we just don't typically. And we're just talking about like eye contact shit.
Yeah.
And has nothing to do with sexual stuff. So anybody can do it.
Yeah, like the subterfuge it's about becoming a human adult, right? Subtext underneath it.
Yeah.
Like I'm here to have a better sex. I mean, most men come because they want more sex or some sex at least with their wives. Like I want some sex. I had one guy who wanted less, but that was weird, right? And then they realize they want it better. And then we kind of turn them into ego-killing practices that open them to God, the universe, and human adulthood. And it's usually worth it because they find the attraction in letting go of all their baggage and finding the depths in that. So there you go. Check us out, shadesofintimacy.com. Okay. For one thing, I never figured out how desire got to be the bad guy and compassion the good guy. Suzuki said that Buddhism wasn't something you had deep feelings for, that just doing normal things like eating meals and going to bed was Buddhism. I read books about it now and then, and I kind of get it, but mostly I don't. The reason I don't get it, I think, is because I keep thinking that the point of Buddhism is waking up from delusion, but maybe it's not. Maybe the point is just eating meals and going to bed. And I think that's true. Yeah, I mean, they throw in that idea that they want to get. I've met some Buddhists. I just spent a week at Crestone in Colorado at a Buddhist, and they were great people. But when we started to talk in the mornings, when we'd have our little discussions, they are wrapped up in some doctrinal things and head things, and they weren't open to the different levels of thinking. They were open to killing desire and living simple lives of service and compassion. I mean, which isn't bad. Like, it's very hard to argue against anything like that.
Yeah, but I don't have much experience at all talking to these people, to be honest. But I can say that I don't see, the Zen. It just doesn't make sense that you need to have the desire to change your situation to actually like you need to have that, or you need to have it build up in you, your desire to change, and then have that come out through your autolysis and through these things in your life. So having desire be the enemy says to me, it's like, well, then they're just they're nothing. They're just compassion people. They're heart people, and that's it. There's nothing actually progressively useful there.
Yeah, I don't understand what they mean. The more and more I've understood it. I mean, desire is the more.
It's the most important thing. You need to know what you want. Where are you at? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, but and it's also like the motivating force for the dream. Like if desire was gone, then change wouldn't happen. Like a tree, you plant a seed, right? And the seed turns into a tree. I happen to be looking at a tree. That's what the fucking thing. And I'm like, so the tree desires to grow up. Like if it didn't plant its seed, nothing would happen. So the world would be boring. So everything runs on desire, asshole. It has to.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
The wind blows by desire. It's a movement. Desire is movement.
Yeah. If you had no desires, then it would be rocks. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, so you want to just be rocks? Is that the goal?
Maybe.
It's very good. Obviously there's two I am not educated on Buddhist stuff, so this is a bad discussion.
So this is a greatly bad
From that
discussion.
perspective.
But from that perspective, let's show some humility. And anyone out there who is super familiar with Buddhism and like you got some years under your belt on the cushion,
yeah,
and you want to reach out to us, we'll do a live and let's talk it out. Maybe it'll be useful for people. And this is 2019 when we're filming this, so I don't, I imagine this video's here for 100 or so years, right?
To take it down.
Yeah. So if we're still alive in the next 50 to 100 years, definitely check in with us, and you want to talk about it. We'll kind of put that out there as an intention. Maybe someone has some experience and they want to share it. Okay. What drew Andrew to Buddhism was interesting, but hearing him talk about it only reinforced my belief that it was something I didn't get. I'm not a theologian, of course, and I have not made a deep study of world religions, but to the degree that I have looked at them, I have no problem understanding what they're about. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are all about keeping God happy, so he keeps us happy. Hinduism is similar, but with more gods. But even at that oversimplistic level, Buddhism eludes me. Frankly, I think it eludes many of its practitioners as well, as the discussion with Andrew would tend to bear out. He was stuck on several points, he said. We discussed a few of them that I'll share here because they reveal important lessons for anyone who is trying to break free from the bonds of delusion, as we say in the Enlightenment game. What Andrew had to say about the Buddhist concept of non-attachment was not so much that he didn't understand it as that he was having trouble achieving it. That, of course, led to the apparent paradox of the desire to be desireless being itself a desire, and that whole tail chase. Rather than drawing him out on the subject, I decided to simply drone on about it for a while and see how he responded. Andrew didn't need to be finessed like some of the others. He had the courage and intelligence to see when shown. There are two ways to look at non-attachment. One is in the context of living a peaceful, happy life. The other is in the context of becoming awake from delusion. Nirvana, I suppose. And am I correct in believing that Buddhism often has as its goal serenity, freedom from suffering, that sort of thing? Andrew confirmed that living a fulfilled and contented life was very much at the heart of Buddhism, but added that enlightenment nirvana was closer to his own. Then you'll be happy to know that you can forget about non-attachment. I said, you're putting the cart before the horse. Non-attachment isn't a key to liberation. It's a byproduct.
Yeah, that is one of those symptoms that he talks about. It stands out to me as one of the things where people are like, well, when these enlightened people, they don't have attachments. So we need to focus on not having any attachments right now. And I think that's why the quote at the beginning was seek what they sought.
Like if Jesus,
not what they exactly.
Is this going to be the quote? Because it was so powerful in my life where he says, stop. Like if Jesus walked sideways, everyone's going to walk sideways, or eats chicken soup. I'm making this up. I don't remember what his specific story was, right? Where you start to do what they do, like I did. Hey, pot calling kettle black. I'm going to watch storms. I'm a storm watcher. Maybe that'll help me get enlightened. Didn't fucking work.
I think,
right? The storms was the byproduct. This shit's layered more smartly than I thought. That keeps happening to me. The storm is the byproduct. Watching is the byproduct of enlightenment. It's not something I went and tried to watch storms. It didn't fucking work. That's funny. Pot, kettle, black. I've felt this. I've tried to practice attachment. It doesn't work. Sometimes you just become non-attached when it all fades away. It's beautiful when it happens. But it's very hard to practice. I'm just going to unattach from you. It is a byproduct. I have some personal experience in that.
Yeah, because it's not that's why it's such an elusively difficult thing, because it's not correct.
Well, right there, if you're attached to the desire, if you desire to be unattached, you're attached to something. You're just circling around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put the cart before the horse.
The attachment thing is just a symptom of a larger and more interesting malady chronically plaguing earnest seekers. More interesting to me, anyways. This is a very common error that's found throughout the world's teachings and religions. I continue. They're often 180 degrees removed from the truth. It's the belief that if you want to be Christ-like, then you should act more Christ-like Christ. This is the part I was just talking about. As if the way to become something is by imitating it. If you want to be an enlightened person, thinking goes, you should act like an enlightened person. Stormwater. Utter nonsense, of course, but widely accepted. Once you're able to recognize this fallacy, you'll be amazed at how common it is. For instance, I myself am enlightened and I possess effortless non-attachment. I know what it is and I know what they mean by it because I have it. I'm not attached to it. I don't cultivate it. In fact, I don't think I ever gave it much thought until I had to answer questions about it. It's just something that came with the deal, a byproduct. There are many byproducts of enlightenment, but cultivating them, no matter how devoutly, would never actually bring about enlightenment. That was the argument I got in with that lady on Facebook. That was the discussion that I had with the people at Crestone. They do not agree with that. They would just go, thank you, Jason, you're wrong. They would say,
yeah, what if you
cultivate
again?
There are many byproducts of enlightenment, but cultivating them, no matter how devoutly, would never actually bring about enlightenment. They would go wrong. Cultivating them very devoutly will bring about enlightenment. That they would, and they may be right. Who for all fucking know? If that's what they're going to say.
Yes. I mean, I don't know about around my house. Who is this? The doggy's going out.
You gonna say hi to everybody? And you're live on TV. What were you saying? Cultivating devoutly byproducts.
I think it's ultimately it becomes a dead end of frustration for me because it just equals like I just want to have a discussion with them, but what you keep running up against would be their beliefs, and so they probably wouldn't make progress. So it'd be an obnoxious argument to have, probably.
So I had,
unless you got someone who would talk and think, you know.
So in my deepest neurosis, right, when I was trying to be Christ-like, I remember driving down the road, and I like music. You know, I'm like, fuck yeah, motherfucker, right? I'm ballistic. And I stopped, and I went to myself, Jesus wouldn't do that. Jesus would drive calmly and peacefully. And I thought, oh. And it started to cascade in my head. And I knew I was totally fucked one day when I was sleeping. And I was like, oh, like this, you know. And I was like, oh no, Jesus would sleep straight and just peaceful. Now, like that's the infected disease in my young 20s that I was trying to truly become, like I'd sit like I thought, first of all.
That's not.
I don't even
crazy.
go with where the fuck, how do I know the way Jesus slunk? Maybe he's a rock and heavy metal fan, but right? I imagined what I thought he sat like and started to try to sit like him. And talk like. I stopped swearing. I stopped fucking swearing because Jesus wouldn't fucking swear.
I don't think it's that weird. I think that that's a standard thing that the human. I think that's what the human ego, mind, brain does. Is like looks at something the way something is, and then tries just like I think it's a natural thought fallacy. In some way that the brain naturally makes. And then you just can find yourself down these little things like, oh, Jesus wouldn't sleep like that. And it's like, hold on a fucking second.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that
I really think this through, but it wasn't thought through. It was just thought like, no, I don't think it'd be like Jesus. Is your mind like trying to help make you into a better person, but just going about it the wrong way?
He makes me feel better because I was feeling pretty stupid.
I'm trying to tell you, it's not stupid. Yeah. But I do the same thing with Jed, though. All the time.
Stormwatcher.
Yeah. Or have some mental comparison. Be like, I wonder, like, how would Jed do this? And then it's the same fucking thing. I have to have the same thing. I'm just like, what are you asking yourself that question for? That just doesn't matter. But I think it's an automatic, the reason, because I've experienced it and you're mentioning it, I just think it's an automatic process. It's my theory.
Yeah, and it emerged naturally in me, and I got neurotic about it. Like I remember driving and thinking, You know, like I have to sit like Christ would sit and drive, and I have to lay in bed like he would and talk like he would. Now, at the age of 50, somewhere around 20 to 30 years removed from such foolishness, that I see this very clearly. Like, that's just a dead-end pile of shit. Like, that's just stupid. But I didn't see it. And when I was talking to the Buddhists at Crestone, really super people, and if any of them watch this, I apologize if you get offended, but they would say that cultivating the byproducts of enlightenment devoutly actually bring about enlightenment. They say, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't sat on your cushion long enough. It's hours, it's days, it's weeks, months, years.
Here's the thing. Things like that, those systems that exist, there are people in the world who, if they didn't have that, I don't know, like maybe they just go out and they murder themselves or murder other people or they do wild crazy shit and they just need to sit on that fucking cushion. But that's what they fucking need. And don't ask any questions because that's what they need. It's like, but those people have the fucking cushion, man. Those people, okay, cool, have it. But for most regular people, it's like, would you just think about it for a second?
So you know what? You know what helped me? There was this guy in the ward, and you probably, when you were a little kid, in the Mormon ward, he was the clerk, right? And we were talking like Mormons talk about the celestial kingdom and going to heaven and building planets and, oh my God, I'm going to have many wives and build cities of gold and yeah. And so, but you do that as a Mormon, you get real into it. And if you get along with other Mormons or all on the same frequency, you really start to shout batshit crazy and talk that stuff up. And it's fun, right? It's cool stuff. And I was with this guy and he's all like, yeah, that's all fucking bullshit. And he didn't say bullshit. He said, that's all pie in the sky. And I said, ooh, what are you talking about? And he's all, yeah, that's all pie in the sky. Like celestial kingdom, how do I know if that's true? And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh, I'm Mormon because I like it. And if I don't, I'm going to drink myself to death as an alcoholic. And I said, so you're here? And he goes, yeah, that pie in the sky stuff. He says, Jason, let me give you, and I'm a little kid, probably had a little carrier with you in my hand, put his arm around me, and he was the ward clerk, and he said, Jason, let me give you a little bit of advice. It's all pie in the sky. I kept saying that word. I remember it now. Pie in the sky, and he said, it won't do you any good. Just enjoy the ride here. And I thought, that's what you're talking about, right?
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's a good Mormon.
That's a great fucking Mormon. Yeah. You should keep being a Mormon.
Yeah.
Good for that guy. But especially because he had enough self-awareness to tell you, like, hey man, come on. I'm in this because I need to be here. There's other people that are here, but like he was just telling you, you're like a random innocent person who's like, well, what do you mean you don't believe this? It's like, well, of course I fucking don't. I just have to keep doing this, man. And like those people were actually, that guy was actually a little bit more mature and able to like recognize that, even though he is still stuck in religion or whatever. But I think there's a lot in that. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. Wow, crazy story. Wow. Pie in the sky. Now remember that very clearly.
Pie in the sky. That's the Mormon bullshit.
And I mean, it was shocking to me at that time. And I was like,
oh, you imagine you're a part of it.
You know,
that would be unsettling to any Mormon.
You want to... So, in the Mormon religion, there's 3 kingdoms. And I'm going to butcher it because I can never remember celestial, terrestrial is one of. So 1, 2, 3. Celestial's the highest. Celestial, you got to do it. But all 3 kingdoms are amazing, right? Right? And I was in an elder quorum thing and this one guy was sitting back and he goes, so we're all here to get to the celestial kingdom. This guy raised his hand, was in the back, and he goes, no, I'm not. And everyone in the whole fucking room is just like silent. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, dude, I can't remember if telestial, terrestrial is the bottom one.
Okay.
So I'm going to say telestial. I'm probably wrong, but I think it's telestial. And he goes, no, I'm a telestial guy. Dude, I only do enough work to get to the celestial. That's my game here.
And he was honest?
And we're
not joking?
Not fucking joking.
That's some unsettled group of people shit. That's funny.
Dude.
They're like, what do you mean you're not trying the hardest?
Dude, little robot Jason ran to the bishop.
Yeah,
I was so upset. Like, we got to get this fucker the fuck out of here. We cannot have I mean, and he just sat back with like a fucking grin on his face, and he goes like, "Yeah, I'm not made for all that. I'm going for the least amount of work possible."
That is funny.
Oh, same word as this pie in the sky, about the same time.
People are funny.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I like hearing your Mormon stories because I was there technically when I don't remember.
Yeah.
Most of a lot of that shit.
I got one more, and it was from your friend's father. So if you remember who this is, we probably shouldn't out him here, right?
Okay.
And he was, and this is when I started, this is kind of a break for me in the religion. This guy, he was the teacher of the elders quorum. So it's a men's group in the church. And he got up, and it was his job to teach. And he said, I want to teach you something about, I had a dream last night that I was going out with this hot chick, and I had sex with her. And and I woke up, and I looked over at my wife, and I felt the pain of having cheated on her. And so he said, I decided I have to make this the lesson. And I talked about fidelity and all of this and how important his wife was to him, right?
Yeah.
And it really opened my heart, like, wow, this is brave. Well, he got removed from the teacher. He got reported to the bishop and got removed. Because
For sharing that?
Yeah, because he talked about cheating on his wife, and it was too. And see, what I do at Shades of Intimacy, which we talk about anything, right? We're going to talk about it because that is real. That is something a man, like
that's a real life experience.
That's a real, to have a dream, to want it, to see it. If you're not dealing with it honestly, and this is what he was saying. He said, I had this dream, and it wasn't, anyone even knew, but he did it. So he felt like I had to repent, and he went through the whole thing, and he just wanted to teach us about it, that you're not alone if you have these thoughts. And I thought, even so, I was a self-righteous prick when it came to the guy who wanted to be in the celestial kingdom. I was the one who ran to the bishop. But this guy, by this time, I was like, this is real honest. Yeah. This is talking about a real thing that's going on in his life and what it made him feel. And he said, everybody, I want you to feel, what would it feel like? Like, feel your wife's heart break if you cheated on her. Like, where do you want to be? Who do you want to be as a man? It's very beautiful.
It sounds like a great lesson.
But he got removed. Yeah. Makes it difficult to be honest and authentic.
It's so weird. Well, it makes you wonder, like, well, then, it's like, but he didn't, all he felt was talking about something that happened in reality. And you're saying that there's a blacklisted list of things that are real in this existence right now, but we just can't talk about it. So, well, then, what are we doing? What do you mean? What? You just undermine the whole entire thing. It's crazy.
And this is a channel about authenticity and growing up. So let's go here. I want to talk about one more thing, which is, you've been in some of my workshops, and one of the things we want to do is be able to sit down and talk about our pain, and to just share that pain with each other. And in certain areas, you can do that with men or even in big groups. And one of the things that I loved about the church was that they had something called the testimony day, where you could get up and share what your heart's deepest belief with everyone. And I thought that was so beautiful. But as the years went by in that, I realized how empty it was. And if you're a good Mormon, and I know some really good Mormons, it's hard to argue with what I'm going to say. You can be a full believer, and most are just going to go, it's not authentic. It's just not. Like, it's just people talking. And like, you can't come up and say, I had this dream that I cheated on my wife. You can't say I hadn't say that. I said I had 3 drinks last night, and I yelled at my wife and told her she was a bitch, and now she's gone, and I can't forget. She won't forget.
Share anything real.
You can't share anything real. It's not. I have enough years of experience now, and if there's Mormons listening, I mean, I would just, I don't know. I don't care if you change your mind or not, but there's a different way. There's a place you can be open. The place you can be about. Places, yeah. And it's valuable, and it's real, and it's rich, and it will help you get further in life. And when you bury and pretend that shit isn't real, your celestial glory will end up being telestial. Let's put it to you that way. It'll be fake.
We might.
Are we about?
Might want to end it.
Yeah, it might be. So this might be Yeah, we're fucked.
No.
So,
Cool. Well, that just means this will be a multi.
yeah, this will be part 1 and part 2.
That's good though. That's what I don't really care if we do that.
Yeah. I want to say something to you, Asher. I don't know why. Just lately, we've gotten here a little earlier. We've gotten on fire, and these have been good. I told Jenny, I told you, damn, that one with you and Jenny was good. Like you two should do that again. You guys have great insights. And the way, I know you read that Heartless chapter once, and then you read it again.
And going over it again.
Right? Fuck. One thing I've learned from Jed so much, is the idea of just diving into a topic, attacking it from different angles. I'm far, far smarter than I used to be. I'm still a low-grade moron. I keep it there, honestly. But look, pretty quickly when you're talking to someone who's not torn shit down,
Or just hasn't examined
it over and over again. I mean, I read books totally differently now. And we'll talk about that in the second book. Mortimer popped his cherry and how to read a book. There's a book out there, how to read a book or how to read.
I tried to read it.
I read it. Yeah.
I couldn't finish it. It was hard.
You don't need to. Because you heard Jed got you what you needed to know. Which is read it, put yourself in it, tear it apart. That's just the 4 stages or 5 stages of reading. Yeah.
Well, even still, that's another example.
You don't like it?
That's another example of curriculum that would be useful to go over on this channel.
Like for instance, let me teach you how to read. Yeah, let me teach you how to read. I'll show you. I'm going to teach you something right now, right? First chapter that we just read. Basho. Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought. Who the fuck is Basho?
Oh, yeah. Highlighting, like
you haven't looked it up.
Go look at the references.
Yeah, look at the reference. Look at who he is. Look at what this guy's go. It's like, Basho is.
Well,
and I don't have it, right?
Yeah. And the reason that's really smart to do is because you could read a book where someone references something and then you go look up the reference and you could realize that they misused the reference.
Yeah. All context.
So extra thought.
Okay, everybody. I know this is a non-enlightened game, human adulthood, and we're supposed to be unattached. But go Warriors! Fuck Toronto! Fucking Canadians. Okay, we'll see you next week.